What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, with another edition of Where, Pick, and Dare, where I pick games for the various games that are occurring tomorrow. Whether it's football, baseball, basketball, basically whatever games I want to pick, I will pick them. With all that being said, on with the video. MLB, Milwaukee Brewers versus Toronto Blue Jays. The Brewers have a 42.5% chance to win, and the Blue Jays have a 57.5% chance to win. This is at Toronto. For pitchers, Peralta for the Brewers has an ERA of 2.68 and WHIP of 1.1. And Bieber for the Blue Jays has an ERA of 1.5 and WHIP of 0.33. Now, Peralta has pitched 147 2/3 innings this year, while Bieber has only pitched in 6. So let's look at Bieber's career. So for his career, he has an ERA of 3.21, WHIP of 1.11. So with those numbers, it's not really significant difference, as far as pitching goes. So I think home field advantage will be the big thing here. So I think the Blue Jays will beat the Brewers tomorrow. Seattle Mariners versus Cleveland Guardians. The Mariners have a 58.4% chance to win, and the Guardians have a 41.6% chance to win. This is at Cleveland. For pitchers, Kirby for the Mariners has an ERA of 4.05 and WHIP of 1.18. And Allen for the Guardians has an ERA of 4.35 and WHIP of 1.43. So not really good pitching for either team. It's not really going to give a difference as far as pitching goes. So I think home field advantage will be the big thing here. So I think the Guardians will beat the Mariners tomorrow. Detroit Tigers versus Kansas City Royals. The Tigers have a 46.3% chance to win, and the Royals have a 53.7% chance to win. This is at Kansas City. For pitchers, uh, Paddock for the Tigers has an ERA of 4.98 and a WHIP of 1.26. And Lugo for the Royals has an ERA of 3.99 and a WHIP of 1.24. So good pitching for Lugo, not really good pitching for Paddock. So I think it's a definite advantage for the Royals. So with home field advantage and pitching advantage, I think the Royals will beat the Tigers tomorrow. College football. Auburn Tigers versus Baylor Bears. Auburn has a 48.2% chance to win, and Baylor has a 51.8% chance to win. So this is at Baylor. So Baylor, they have a returning veteran QB, Sawyer Robinson, of course, transferred from Mississippi State a few years ago. He's played well for Baylor, and and they're a strong contender for the Big 12. Like this could they can make things interesting. Like Baylor can make things really interesting. They could be a bid stealer in the playoffs. Auburn, of course, they're a team that could look to make some upsets this year, especially with their home schedule. And Auburn, they have a new starting quarterback, Jackson Arnold, who transferred from Oklahoma. After Arnold got benched. Um, yeah, and so Auburn's gonna try break in, a new quarterback, and then their new like play calling system for offense, which is kind of retarded. Okay, so here's how it works. Offense coordinator Derek Nix handles first down plays. Quarterbacks coach Ken Austin is handling third downs. Hugh Freeze does hold veto power on any call, which that's fine. He's a head coach. That's not a problem. Now, I don't know who necessarily does second down call plays. Um, I don't know like who's doing second down, like whether or not it's Nix, whether or not it's Austin. Where it depends on like how many yards they have to go. But it's like it'd be one thing if this was like a running game coordinator and passing game coordinator. That would be one thing, and you have someone say like, "Hey, we're going to do a passing play here. What's the passing play here?" And you say, "Hey, we need a running play. What's the running play here?" That would be one thing. But this freaking look, Hugh Freeze will veto. I'm fine with that. He's the head coach. That makes sense. But th- switching between downs, that's one, you're making it very predictable. Because we'll know, one, if you're going to do that, don't freaking tell people. Because then you won't know. You don't say which down. Because then they'll have to figure out, okay, who's doing this. Like, you don't want to be predictable. The kind of thing that screwed UGA in 2019, where their offense was so predictable that their offense got very stagnant outside, when outside of later in the season, like once they got some groove going when they played Florida. But no, Auburn is going to end up very predictable at times, and this is at Baylor, and so with Auburn breaking in a new system, breaking in a new quarterback, yeah, some of their donors are going to be pretty pissed off. So I think Baylor is beating Auburn tomorrow. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets versus Colorado Buffaloes. Georgia Tech has a 47.3% chance to win, and Colorado has 52.7% chance to win. This is at Colorado. So yeah, this even though neither team is ranked, this could be like a decent game. So obviously Georgia Tech, they still have Haynes King there, who has played pretty well for them, compared to when he was at Texas A&M playing in the SEC, against a real conference. Instead of being in the ACC where it's significantly easier outside playing like Clemson, eh, and probably Miami. But no, he's done decent for them. Like he's done decent. Like not he's not someone I would be drafting anytime soon. Like no, I would not be drafting Haynes Keen. And for Colorado, they're starting Hayden Salter, who transferred from Liberty University, after being kicked off of Tennessee for Tennessee Volunteers for for those possession, driving without a license. Yeah, he got arrested, then went to Liberty. Yeah, that school is fallen by their standards. Of course, when you hire Hugh Freeze, Art Briles as your head coach and AD, there's some bad signs. And then all the stuff with Jerry Falwell Jr. Yeah, that school had its problems. Anyway, so Salter is now at Colorado. So he did very well in 2023 for Liberty, and okay in 2024, definitely a big downgrade compared to 2023, which is his best year. If he gets to and the Big 12 was the type of crapshoot that it is, Colorado could be a very interesting team. Obviously there's still some issues. I mean, they had the Heisman winner last year, and they weren't sniffing the playoffs, and they had like Shador Sanders, is with the Cleveland Browns. That's a whole other mess with what's going on there with that QB situation. So yeah, this could be a pretty good game. I think with this being at Colorado, while you could argue Tech with basically there being more consistent, like basically continuity from last year to this year, you know, Tech, you would think Tech could have the advantage, but I think with it being at Colorado and with Salter, obviously having done more in the passing game than Haynes Keen, I think that Colorado will beat Georgia Tech tomorrow. And that's it for picks. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to my picks. Do you agree with them? Do you not? If you have different picks, you can put them in the comments. But other than that, please like, subscribe, and all that. Thank you for listening, and look forward to the next video.